So this one piece of content that is, it's inside of Biocanic for my one-on-one clients. It's inside of Biocanic as a group program. It's inside of Biocanic for you as FDN practitioners as a turnkey solution. And it's also a workbook in a actual physical format that you can order off of Amazon, or that I take with me when I'm doing speaking events and I can give it out to people, or I gift it to my clients, right? Like I gift it to them so they can actually physically write inside of it. And that's something that you can do as well. I highly recommend, however, that you do replace and change a few of the things and change up the words and stuff. Sorry, that's my husband. I got to tell him that I'm in the middle of a call. Um, and I just wanted to say, like, there's a lot of ways that you can use this type of content, right? You can use it to, it can be multi-purpose. So you have this one piece of content that can be turned into lots of different things, okay? So how did you structure the program? That's what I'm showing you right now. So I'm showing you exactly how I'm going to structure the program. So right now you're seeing the back end. This is like what they're getting in terms of the deliverables, but then I'm going to show you inside of Biocanic. This is inside of Biocanic, like how it's being dripped out. Now, this is the patient view. So the patient is going to be seeing this, right? And then in terms of the practitioner, this is the practitioner view, the back end, right? This is what you are seeing in the back end as the practitioner. So it's very easy to modify. You have content types over here where you can decide if you're embedding PDFs, if you're assigning intake forms or assessments, if you are doing multiple choice questions, if you are putting in a video. So like you saw over here, the very first thing is a welcome video. So over here, you just select the embedded video player as the content type. And I record all my videos in ScreenFlow and then I upload them into Vimeo. Now you don't have to do that. Vimeo can be expensive. You can upload videos into YouTube. If you want to lock it down so people can't steal your stuff or share it, you can turn it into an unlisted or a private video and put it in here. Okay, so that's one option. So you can see straight away, these are the content blocks for the practitioner who is editing this, okay? And then I put a little video in on how to use Biocanic. So this is actually from the Biocanic resource library, because you want your clients to not have to be asking you, how do I use this? Like just give them a video that's like 3 minutes long on how to do that, all right? And then the contract. So now you can see you can assign things, right? And start changing the cadence of it. So if you decide you don't want to give them the contract after day one, you might want to wait 3 days or 4 days or something like that. You can do that too. So over here, it's like you're going to make it available after a certain period of time. And then you start dripping out all of the different things, right? So I've assigned things like the MC scorecard and what's the other thing that we do? Oh, the lifestyle and medical history form. So over here, you can see when you click into this little box, you'll get all of the different forms that you have got inside of your assessments. So these are all under assessments, even though we call them forms, right? So in here, I have got numerous forms because I've got a lot of different types of agreements and daily habits and all kinds of other things. But for you, you probably only have 2 or 3 of those when you're just getting started, which is the FDN Metabolic Chaos Scorecard, the FDN Lifestyle and Medical History Questionnaire, and then the FDN Terms of Service. If you guys want, I can show you how that looks right now. Do you want me to show you how you can find that and how you can assign that? Yes? No? Sure. Okay, let's do it. All right, so this is a little bit of the back end. I can get back into this and like how Biocanic integrates into all the different integrations with Google Cal, FullScript, Chronometer, Avexia, Rupa, Aura, Thea Health. Like it does all these cool things. But let's go to... All right, so bundles. So the FDN functional diagnose. So we have a marketplace. So under templates, this is the marketplace. And you can see there's assessments, email, all. So you could click into each of these individually, or you could just go to the plain marketplace where you'd see them all. So the FDN bundles for assessments are right here. You would select it and you can see straight away it's got FDN lifestyle medical history template, diet check record, metabolic chaos scorecard, practice agreement, which is actually my practice agreement, which is pretty robust. And then the readiness assessment. Okay. So the readiness assessment, I think this is probably one of the things that is most underrated, because when we get people on discovery calls, we forget, like we kind of think like, oh, I'm going to ask them everything about themselves on that call, when you could probably do a lot of it and learn a lot about them in a pre-qualifying questionnaire, right? So if I show you so when you click on this, you hit purchase, it's obviously $0. By purchasing, it just means it's adding it to your own template library. So it will end up in here under your assessments. So like you see, these are Raywin Guerrero assessments. These are all my assessments. And I've changed all of the names, right? So instead of it saying template, I have changed the extension from template to Gutsy Exec so that it can identify me in the system. So you would do the exact same thing. And then here's my FDN lifestyle and medical history, Gutsy Exec, FDN metabolic chaos scorecard, Gutsy Exec, FDN terms of service. And then let's get to the readiness assessment, which is what I was sharing with you. So the little pencil in here, whatever you purchase inside of the, or when I say purchase, anything you add from that assessments marketplace or any of the different marketplaces, we have supplement protocols, all that kind of stuff that you can add into your own library, right? You basically can edit anything in there. So the little pencil, you can edit. So the assessment, this readiness assessment, you're going to get it looking like this with my details inside of it. However, like I just showed you, you can totally edit it and take this out, right? So you ask a couple of questions that I think is very, very useful for clients for you as a practitioner to learn about your clients before they become your clients. So you ask them things like, what do they do for work? How many hours are they sitting? What are the 3 biggest things that they want to work on? How is it impacting their lives? What is it preventing them from doing? What have you done to help you with these issues in the past? Have you ever worked with any of these things? Now, obviously, this is very nuanced to me because I've been working with people in business, so executive coaching and that kind of thing, right? Now, again, completely change. You can come in here and customize it and change it all for yourself as well. How much of this is a priority for you? So you want to know how motivated they are to change. I include things about the labs in here too, so they don't have questions about that. The things about insurance are also included in here. Right. And then, I explain that it's not covered by insurance. I tell them exactly what they're getting so that they don't think it's only blood work, that they're actually understanding what it is. Right. And then the labs, I think down here, I ask, are they willing to make these types of changes? Who or what's going to stop you? If they say money, or, if it's like a husband or whatever, you want to get into that. Then you want to ask a financial pre-qualifier. How much have you invested so far this year? Because in the past, I used to ask how much you invested so far, and they would have said, oh, I spent 10 grand on my health, but it was like over a period of 10 years. So you kind of want to know how much have they already spent this year on their health, and then who else do they need to consult. So you're getting a really clear picture of the fact that they're motivated and that they probably do have the finances to be able to invest in working with you, right? I do like to ask where they're living. Now, because like I said, I'm only working with clients in the United States, I say, what state are you living in? If you're working with people around the world, you might ask, what country are you based in, right? You might want to change this so that you have an idea of if you're going to have to work across time zones or something like that, right? Do you have the financial resources to invest? And I ask questions like this as well. Like, I want to know, and you could probably say, how did you hear about me? Who can I thank for referring you to me? You can add those kinds of questions in here as well. And then I ask, have you seen my client testimonials? And I have a whole page on my website devoted to client testimonials. Plus, if you look at Google My Business, you'll see that I've got a bunch of Google Business reviews, Google My Business reviews in there as well. But I also have some of them laid out on the success page on my website. And I took like a little screenshot and just slapped it in here, right? Just for social proof. People like that. They need to feel like, okay, she's helped people before who have my kinds of problems, right? And then I give them a little idea of how my program works. So it's good for them to kind of see, like, this is not going to be like if they have worked with, like in my case, like I had worked with naturopathic doctors who would see me for one session, give me my results from the labs, and then just send me on my way with like, here's your supplement protocol, see you in 3 months, right? We don't work that way as FDN practitioners. We create a container of support across 120 days. And we're doing, I say 120 days. And the reason for that is that first that first week, right, when you speak to someone after you onboard them, like let's say you have your discovery call, you're collecting sample, you're sending their kits out to them, then they're collecting their samples, and then you're waiting for the results to come in. So you're kind of giving them this high level overview of what's going to be involved, right? Now, week 3, realistically, it's probably going to be more like about week 4 realistically, because it takes about 2 weeks for the labs to turn everything around. And by the time, that's like week 1, you're sending the kits to them. Week 2, they're collecting their samples, and then they've got like another 2 weeks for the results to come in, right? So it's really realistically about week 4. But this high level overview is training them and priming them to understand that this is a very involved program. It's going to require work on their part. They're not just going to see you for, here's my supplements, off you go. Like, you're actually going to be with them every step of the way. Every 2 weeks, you're going to be meeting with them, right? 2 to 3 weeks. Okay. So this happens before they even meet with you. And I saw a really good question in there from Jess about calendars, right? So we could talk about that now, because I actually include this readiness assessment when someone books the appointment with me. So I'm just going to try and find my calendar. Here we go. So here's my calendar. So this is where you can set up actually, let's show you what it looks like this, right? So this is the calendar. And I think at the start of all of this, I was showing you how Biocanic integrates with over here. It integrates with Google Cal. So under integration, so you go to the settings cog, it will take you to this page with your personal information, your subscription, your payment method, your integrations, your billing options to connect with Square or Stripe, right? And over here, you can integrate Google Cal or Outlook. Now, I like Google because I have everything on Google. I use G Suite. So Google Cal is my jam. And I've got 3 Google Gmail accounts, and they're all synced up inside of my Biocanic. I have one for my Biocanic because I consult for them 1 day a week. So I have a Biocanic calendar. I have my Gutsy Exec calendar, and then I have my personal calendar. And that all syncs inside of here. So once you turn this on, it basically just prompts you to connect your Google Calendar with it. Just put in your credentials, your username and password, and then it syncs with it. Now, let me try and find my window over here. Yeah, so then this shows up. So when you first get your Biocanic account, actually, as a practitioner, you won't see calendar at the top. And you might think, oh my gosh, I'm missing something. You're not missing anything. You just literally need to go to settings and then turn on the calendar feature if you're using Google or using Outlook, okay? And then you can see like here, this is what's going on inside of here for me. And over here is self-booking. And this is where you can set your hours. So if you select green, right? Or if you just tap it and it turns it on or off. So green obviously means go, or teal means go, right? So I'm doing Mondays from 8:30 to 1:30, Tuesdays from 8:30 to 3:34. This is just my availability, right? So that's my availability. And then down here, you can start adding specific types of events. So I might decide like, I'm only going to do, and this is actually true, I only do discovery calls on a Wednesday because Monday is my FDN admin day and I lead Monday Mastermind for FDN and I have FDN business calls those days. So that's working with the administrative team in the background and the marketing teams and all those things. So I don't see clients on that day. And then Tuesdays are my Biocanic consulting days, right? And then Wednesdays are when I'm doing client calls. And Thursdays, I'm doing a little bit of Biocanic and a little bit of FDN. And sometimes I'll do SOS calls first thing in the morning between like 8 and 9. That's when I leave time for my clients to book SOS calls with me, 8 and 9, right? And then Friday, no calls at all. This is very rare for me actually to be doing a call on a Friday. I try to have a day with 0 calls so that I can actually focus on creating content and writing my newsletter and coming up with ideas for my brand and my business, right? So I have a really structured, really organized way that keeps me from burning out. That in my talk last week, I actually talked about that, like time blocking and managing your time in a way, content blocking is going to be really helpful in helping you prevent burnout. So now in terms of the different events that I'm setting up. So clarity calls is what I call my discovery call. I already have it set up. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like on the inside. So if you read from left to right, this is what the title is. This is an event template. This is the link. That's obviously the pencil for editing. You can copy the event, you can delete it. And then over here, this is the link that you can embed in places like your website. So if I show you, You see this little book a call button up here in my website? That's actually taking you to the place where I was just demoing, where you have that link. So you create a link inside of Biocanic for a clarity call, and then you can embed that call. You can embed that link, sorry, not embed that call, embed that link into your website. So you have I have a little button here. Can you guys see down on the left-hand corner of the screen? There's like api.leadconnectorhq.com, all that kind of great stuff. Like it's a really long alphanumeric bunch of string of letters. Yes. So I embed that into here, right? I actually have this embedded with Go High Level. So I'll talk to you about Go High Level in a little bit, because I like to capture if somebody has, like, they were doing a, what do you call it? An abandoned cart. So let's say like they come to my page and they come here and they want to book this call and they start putting in their details. And then for whatever reason, they get distracted, or they think, oh, I don't want to pay for this call or something like that. I actually do charge for my discovery calls after years of being stood up. I thought, you know what, if I assign a monetary value to it, I'm going to get a better quality type of person. No one's going to waste my time. And you know, people do show up. Once they pay, they show up. Now, I know that's not exactly what's taught inside of the course, and it works differently for different practitioners, right? But I kind of feel like after coming from the banking world, people expect that, like, and that's my type of client too. They're expecting a service. So I actually do a lot in that clarity call. I go through things like their metabolic chaos scorecard with them. So it is more like an appointment while I'm trying to feel out if they are a good fit to work with me, right? So here is the link to the clarity call in here. You can put this link into your website. You can put it into your newsletter. You can use it in your Instagram. You can embed it in your LinkedIn. I've got it built into my LinkedIn. In your Instagram stories, there's a way that you can put links in there. You can put it in your Instagram story so people can use that same link so they can make an appointment with you, right? So you have got the ability to do all of that from inside of Biocanic with the calendar. Now I just got to find my calendar. Okay. All right. I'm going to click into this now so you can see exactly what's inside of it. Everyone still with me? Drop a yes if you are, and I'll have a little drink because my throat's dry. All right. Awesome. Okay, so this is the event template. So you basically create templates for everything, right? Now you can see right here, that's the long link. That's the link that was embedded into the website, right? And then this is the button for allowing self-booking. So that means someone can actually book for themselves, right? You don't have to do the whole emailing back and forth, like, oh, when do you want to meet with me? I'm free on this time. Like, no, if someone wants to work with you, just like have this built into your digital business card the way that I do. Have it on your website under the book a call page on your website, and just send them there. Like, oh, you want to make an appointment? Go to my book a call page and give them the link to that, and it will take them to doing this. Okay, so you select your calendar. So like I said, I have 3 calendars. So I want it only in my Gutsy Exec. If you have 1 calendar, you don't have to worry about that. So that's great. You give it a title. So I'm calling it Clarity Video. I have an updated version because I had an old one before when I used to use Stripe, but now I use Square. And you can put stuff in the event body. Now mine is very verbose. Yours might not be. It's only verbose because I have had people show up to these types of appointments and they are driving, they've got their kids with them, or they are taking a walk in the woods and they can't hold the camera in front of them. So they're not sitting in front of a computer. And if I want to share a screen and go through their metabolic chaos scorecard with them, I can't do that because they can't see it because they're on their phones. So I encourage when people are showing up to these types of appointments, because I want to share screens, I'm like, please treat this like you are going to your physician's office or you're meeting with your accountant or your lawyer, so that you are you're actually paying attention and not being distracted, so that I can do my job and share my screen with you and share things with you. I think we're getting a little feedback somewhere. Someone might need to mute. Could everybody just check that they're muted? Thank you. Right. So I just include instructions like that. And I just say, please try and join 2 to 3 minutes before the scheduled time, just in case Zoom needs to do an update or anything weird like that happens. Right. So I give them tips as well, like have your video turned on so I can see you. Try not to sit with the bright lights or windows behind you. Enter full screen in Zoom so nothing else on your computer screen is going to distract you, and like turn off your notifications on your phone. Now you saw what just happened with mine. I have my computer and my phone in do not disturb, but if you have like a manual override for something like your partner, your husband, or your children, like my husband just rang even though I have a do not disturb on, but as much as possible, you want to have people not having like getting distracted during the session with you. And then down here is where you're going to put your event location URL. So either you're meeting them in person person, you could put your address. You could put a Google Meet if you're meeting them online. I use Zoom. I have a paid pro Zoom account. So that's about $14 a month. And I get to have as many Zoom calls as I like. And I can record them and all kinds of great stuff. I know some people who are starting out don't want to pay for a paid Zoom account. So you can use Google Meet, right? Google Meet's free. And it's part of your G Suite as well. So if you want to use G Suite and Google Meet, you could do that. It's completely free, and you could put your Google Meet link in there. I use the same link for every appointment, by the way. It just becomes easier, so I don't have to generate a new one every single time. And I can just duplicate these appointments and call them different names. So once I set this up once, it's just hit the duplicate button and then just change the title. The event length, you can set the length, 15-minute increments. Mine's 45 minutes. I truly think for a discovery call, it should be about 45, but ideally 60, because you do have a lot to kind of cover in that time. And then you can set the reminders, because Biocanic's going to send out the notifications for you a day before, and you could decide if it's 2 days before. You could change that, and you can say, I want it to be a second reminder an hour before, and you can change the notification type if it's going to be via text or if it's going to be via email, right? And then you can set your availability. So even though back here you set your available hours, for this specific type of appointment, I can even get more granular and set up my availability only for this appointment. So even though I'm available Monday to Thursday between 8:30 and 4, for this appointment, for clarity and discovery calls, I am only available between 10 and 2, right? So then, okay, now you can also say if you don't want people to schedule like the same day. So you could set it like, I need at least 3 days before they can set up an appointment, right? Or 7 days or hours. Like maybe you do want same day appointments, right? So you could potentially do that as well. And then down here, you can see require payment for booking. So now I have set up in my billing section where I can accept a payment, and I have a bunch of products that I have created, and I can show you how to create a product very shortly as well. But here's where I will select my Clarity consult is $250. I also have discount setup. So if it's a friend or family member, they get a 50% off, right? So I can give them the code for that so they can add that in. And then this is where the good part is, and what the whole reason we got here is because I was showing you how you can connect the readiness assessment or the metabolic chaos scorecard or the lifestyle, any intake form or assessment you want to include, you will include that here. So I'll delete these right now, and I could show you right now. I don't know why that's doing that. I literally, okay. Oh, good Lord. If you type FDN, there you go. Just type the first 3 letters of the assessment that you want to use, and this is what is selected and saved inside of my templates, right? You will find FDN Metabolic Chaos Scorecard, and in my case, readiness assessment. I type the first 3 letters, and then you can add that in here. And then I say that I want that if they don't fill out the assessment 5 days before the event, you're going to send them a reminder. So they're going to get a reminder if they haven't filled it out. And I'm not going to update it because I don't need to change anything. But now you can see I charge $250. The readiness assessment goes out immediately once they make this appointment. They get a reminder 2 days before and a 1 hour before. The length of my discovery calls is 45 minutes. Here's my Zoom. Here's the Zoom link so they can log in, and it's they've got a self-booking link that you can embed on any page, right? So that's how you set up an event template inside of Biocanic. Now, the cool thing about Business in a Box, let me get back to my window with it. I have so many tabs open, you guys. I do not even know where to look. Scheduling your results and recommendations. So I actually have this built into Business in a Box, and it gets released on like the 21st day. Let me see when it comes out. So by the way, this is the program blueprint, right? So I have this, you also receive this, by the way. So you get the program blueprint when you get Business in a Box. It is basically an overview of what you're going to be, like the client customer journey, like what they're going to be doing at any given time. So you know what they're receiving at any given time. So I know on day 14, they're getting a guided meditation. Day 21, they're getting a video about the release phase. And that's where you have all those slides and all that great stuff. Then day 28, they're getting a notification about it's time for your lab review. So it's almost like every 7 days, they're going to be hearing from you. And this is while they are waiting for their results to come in. So they haven't had an appointment with you yet apart from the clarity call, right? The discovery call. So around this time, you're going to also be telling them like, hey, it's time for you to set up your 90-minute results and recommendations appointment, because you kind of have guesstimated that it's, that their labs are going to be coming in around that time. So I have it built in here. And I put the link to it. So that same place where we just were in the calendar, you can put the link inside of here so that they can book it. And there's none of that back and forth. Like, hey, can you book an appointment? When can I book my appointment? They are doing it. You're teaching them to take care of themselves. And then you're also prefacing with the fact that, you're going to have follow-up appointments. So now they have the opportunity to book their follow-up appointments. So choose a date and time here, and they can, and you have a separate event template set up for that too, right? So follow-up appointments can happen. In my case, like on a Thursday afternoon, I can do follow-up appointments then. I'm doing clarity calls on Wednesday and follow-up appointments on Thursdays. And you're letting them know if you've got questions between our appointments and they can't be answered within 5 minutes over the notes and communications feature, you are welcome to schedule an SOS appointment below. So SOS for me is separate to my package, my 6 sessions and my R&R. So that would be a separate charge, right? Looking forward to working with you and making great progress. So you can see like all of this is dripped out over time, and it takes them all the way through to the 120 days where you ask for feedback, and then you encourage them at the end of asking for feedback to then leave a Google review. So you've just trained them on how to think about leaving a review by asking them very specific questions for feedback. And then you give them the link after that to go and leave the review for you on your Google My Business page, right? So it's all very streamlined. It all happens. And then I like to give them a little certificate of completion. You don't have to do that. But I shared my Canva file with you so that you could go and do it yourself if you want to. So I like to do stuff like that. ChatGPT does all this kind of stuff now too. If you have an AI, you can get it to do that for you as well. Back in the day, Canva was my best friend. So I used to make everything inside of Canva. So that in a nutshell is the 120-day journey. You can see it outlined here in this Excel spreadsheet. So you know what happens on any given day and what they're receiving at any point in time, right? And you get to modify this. So you see all these weird gobbledygook things. These are all my embedded videos. So you would replace all of these things with your own, right? And of course, you could change the cadence anytime you want. So like if it was like a woman who is perimenopausal or menopausal and she doesn't have a cycle or whatever, or she can't track her cycle because she's got irregular periods, you could totally change the cadence of this. Like maybe it's not 28 days, maybe it's like 36 days. Like they've got a longer waiting period. So you could totally change all of this here and then modify it in the back end. Actually, where is the back end? Over here, right? So you can do all of this stuff by just saying like, I'm just going to pad it out a little bit and add like an extra 7 days inside of here somewhere along the way. So maybe it's going to be like the release phase. We could say, I'm just going to give them like 14 days and then it automatically updates all of the rest of it. So you don't have to worry about going and changing every single other thing. Does that make sense? Okay. Are these included in the free 6-month? No, Business in a Box is separate to Business in a Box is a program inside of Biocanic. It's called like a course, like an automation. So the 6-month Biocanic bonus is actual access to the Biocanic platform that you would be receiving, but Business in a Box would be separate to that. Oh, okay. All right, let's see where we're at in terms of time. We've been talking for about an hour and 15 minutes. So that in a nutshell is what Business in a Box looks like. I showed you what it looked like on the front end, like you have to access it from FDN Connect. You're educating your client between appointments. You've got all the intake forms. You can set up your calendar. There's things like supplement templates. Now, all of that kind of stuff is included in Biocanic. The supplement templates, the calendar, like all that great stuff, the FDN forms, all of that's included. Things like uploading labs, Jeremy would have talked about that yesterday. So maybe you want to go back and have a look at that. But I could also show you like from the client's dashboard. Let's see, the client's dashboard. I'm trying to find my client's dashboard. Where am I? I think it's, oh yeah, it's me. I am the client, but I'm also the practitioner. So this is the view that the client would see. They would see they've got like a banner at the top if they've got something to complete, like they have a program to go through, like Business in a Box, or if they have an assessment to fill out. So let's say, in fact, let me show you one quick thing about Business in a Box. So you see this self-booking URL here, this long link with the little copy, you can copy this and build it into a website. So let me go to my Heal Your Gut program, right? So this is my Heal Your Gut program. This is actually where it used to live. And the same thing, little button here, I would just put the hyperlink at the back of the button. And when I'm on the discovery call with someone saying like, okay, this is how it is to work with me. And I explain, what the value of it is, how you're going to get back your life, all that great stuff. And they say, yes, I can't wait to get started with you. What do I do? You send them to this page or wherever, or the long link, because I don't like long, ugly links. I just like having things that are simple that people can remember too. And then I just have a button here just saying like apply. So I tell them, I'm like, okay, just go and hit the apply button. And when they hit that button, this is what it does, right? It takes them to a page where they fill in their details, right? And they hit the enroll button, and then it triggers this welcome video. So immediately they will have this. Now, obviously this is the FDN version. It's not my version. So you would be getting my actual Heal Your one. It would have all the right things, like all the links to my favorite things and all of that great stuff. So the minute they pay you, because that's connected to your Stripe or your Square, the minute they pay you, it then triggers this. So I know I was talking just now about, so you don't have to do anything once they pay you. All of this just starts happening and it gets dripped out according to however you decide you want the cadence to be. So that's what's beautiful about this. You don't have to go and manually enroll them. While they're on the call with you and they're doing their discovery call, you just drop the link in the chat. Just like if I said like, okay, here's my, you want to get started? Here's my link. You just drop it in the chat. They click it and then they go here and they hit the apply button and they put in their details, fill in their credit card information, and that's pretty much it. So I can show you how that is actually done under billing. And under billing, this is where you set up your account with Square or Stripe. Now, full disclosure, I used Stripe while I lived in the UK because I did not know a lot of the things that I know about it now. So in 2020, there were practitioners that I was aware of who were non-licensed. They were not FDNs, but they were like nutritionists or practicing telehealth. And Stripe got wind of the fact that they were not licensed providers and decided to shut them down. So they were practicing just like FDNs, right? They had medical directors, all that kind of great stuff, and decided to shut them down and hold on to their money. And these were people with big clinics who were making lots of money, like 100 grand a month, that kind of thing. And they had their money held by Stripe. So after I heard that, I was like, okay, well, I'm not making 100 grand, but I like my 10 grand and I don't want anyone holding on to that because they think I'm practicing telehealth without a license. So I made the switch over to Square. Now, inside of here, it's very easy to create products. Remember, I was showing you how you can attach a product to an event template like the discovery call, where you can get someone to pay for your discovery call. So it's as simple as hitting the create product button, giving it a name, deciding what it is, if it's a session or if it's an item, giving it, some kind of description, and then stating the price, right? And that's as simple as that. So let's look at my Clarity. Where is it? I'm looking for it right now. Here it is, 250. So the pencil is where you can edit things, but look how simple that is. Clarity Consult, it's in US dollars because my account's in US dollars. It's 30 minutes. It should actually say 45. I'm changing it right here live. And then you just update it. Now, of course, it doesn't have to be 250. You might feel like, I don't want to charge $250. Maybe I want to charge $100 for that 45-minute appointment. You just update it, right? Simple as that, okay? So what is the monthly cost of Business in a Box? There is no monthly cost of Business in a Box. It is a one-time payment. So that is a great question. Biocanic as a platform is what you would pay for every single month, right? Because you want to have access to that platform, and that's where you're going to be managing all your patients, your clients, sorry, not patients, your clients' files, right? So you're going to have access to, a database of all kinds of cool things that you have with your client. And what's cool about the next level of all of this stuff is that Biocanic is a practitioner management platform and it integrates with a CRM. So Biocanic is where you manage your clients once you have them and acquire them as clients. But then in terms of the client acquisition process, it integrates with Go High Level. So I'm just going to show you, and this will be, I'll land my plane with this. This is the last thing that I'm going to show you, and then we'll have some questions. Okay. So the last thing I'm going to show you is the fact that okay, this is my workflows inside of Go High Level. So we have these snapshots for FDNs, and you can actually order things like labs directly from Go High Level because the webhook or the API key, that's the thing that speaks between the two platforms. It's speaking to Biocanic and it can start ordering. So you can actually order labs through Biocanic as well, in addition to just uploading them and all of that great stuff too. Okay. But inside of here, it's like, okay, when someone submits a form, that's the trigger, right? And then it creates the client, right? So this is Go High Level, creating the client. This is a workflow inside of our own automation. So this is separate to Business in a Box. This is you acquiring the client, right? And then you are actually ordering things like the stress and hormones lab, the metabolic wellness profile, the mucosal barrier assessment, the MRT, which is the food sensitivity test, then ordering the GI map. So all of this can be done through here because Go High Level is talking to Biocanic. I always like to order an HTMA as well. And you can build in things like weight steps and all of that cool stuff. So Go High Level has like tremendously amazing capabilities for things like, you know, creating a really nice workflow. There are also things like landing pages in here that are available for FDN. So like if you want to collect leads from like a lead magnet, like maybe you created some kind of freebie. And if you don't know what a lead magnet is, I can show you what my freebie is. So I have got this thing, my Good Gut Reset, which is like a PDF where someone pops in their details. So this is a form inside of Go High Level. This is a landing page inside of Go High Level, but it's linked and connected to my website. So I've connected the two domains. I've connected the domains and I can put in, so someone can come here, put in their details. They hit the Get It Now button, and then it triggers an automation that delivers the lead magnet to them with emails and all of that great stuff. And then you can also do all of your email marketing inside of here. And you can connect it to all of your social media posts and all of that other great stuff inside of here. So the opportunities for what you can do with the combo of Biocanic and Go High Level, it's sort of like endless. Like there's all kinds of things that you can do. So like I said, I'm going to land the plane there and just like open it up in the next sort of like 5 minutes for questions. I actually have a client in about 10 minutes, so we are going to have to wrap it up soon. So let's, the idea behind all of this is that I want you to stop guessing and start getting results, right? Because when you build a system, it protects your energy, it expands your impact. And it's just like when you apply to become an FDN practitioner, because you're getting a full system with that. You're getting a methodology, you're getting mentorship, you're getting lab access. And if you so decide, you can sign up for Business in a Box along with that. And if you've already signed up and you didn't buy Business in a Box, you know, on the front end, you can still get it for $597 while it's still at that price, because we are looking at creating a more robust offering later on where the price is going to be going up and there's going to be coaching and all kinds of other great stuff included in that later on in the year. So right now, it's probably going to be the lowest price it'll ever be at $597 if you are signing up after you've already signed up for the course. But you can bundle it into the course along with Jen's PBE. So those are the two things that you would get as part of what we call Business Launchpad, where you get Jen's PBE and Business in a Box. Okay. Do you have
Raywin, oh my gosh, so many good tidbits here. I can't
I'm gonna
even
stop
believe it.
sharing. I'm gonna stop sharing so I can see you guys, because I couldn't see anything apart
I am
from my
literally
screen.
having FOMO myself and need to go back and check all this out because, you know, I just graduated last year and we had a different business opportunity then. And I have not even honestly dove into this as much myself. And now I'm feeling a little stupid, to be honest, for not doing that. So Thank you. I know we're short on time. I want to let people know that we do have a ton of questions.
I
Raywin is
know.
actually joining us again next week, I believe on Wednesday.
That's right, for a
So,
live Q&A. So that's probably the best time. I didn't realize it was going to be like, oh my gosh, that took up a lot of time going through all of that. Wow.
well, I, for one, as a visual learner, really appreciate you showing all those sort of behind the scenes of how things actually work and how you access them and how they fit together and all that. So that's super, super helpful. I'm wondering if we could just do like a couple
Yeah,
questions
let's do a
today and
couple.
then,
And then because my client is I actually had a client today because I was traveling earlier in the week. So I moved a lot of people to today. So like I said, I don't normally do like appointments on a Friday, but I actually have one about 20 minutes from now. So yeah.
okay. And then, like we said, next Wednesday, if you want to jump on, Raywin will be here live for some additional Q&A. So I think one of the biggest things is because you were showing us Biocanic and you were talking about business in a box, there was a little bit of confusion between the difference between the two. And like, who can utilize Biocanic? Is business in a box just for FDN people? Is Biocanic just for FDN people? So if you could maybe just do a brief,
Yeah.
comparison of those two again, that might take us to the end of our time here.
Sure. Well, first of all, Biocanic is a platform for any kind of practitioner. There are naturopaths, longevity medicine physicians. In fact, only a third of the practitioners that are using it are FDN practitioners. So there's over 3,000 practitioners on it, and only about 1,000 of them are actual FDNs. The rest of them are doctors, psychologists, detox specialists, clinics are using it. So it's not only for FDNs. But when I say business in a box is powered by Biocanic, like you have got like the templates and all of that stuff inside of FDN Connect, and then you basically go and you upload it, and you've got that program blueprint that teaches you how to like lay everything out, along with all the videos and training on how to make it your own. So there's all of that also included, but it's how to customize it inside of Canva, and then two inside of your Biocanic, right? Someone asked like, did I do all of this myself? And I said yes, because it took me 6 years, you guys, like 6 years of running a practice, of seeing what worked, what didn't. I was telling one of my business coaching clients on Tuesday, she said like, how many courses have you run? I said, oh my God, my first one was a sleep course that I ran it twice and 10 people showed, right? Like there's so many, I never look at any of these things as being a failure, because it taught me so much, because I learned how to refine the process of when you drip stuff out, of how you design your brand, all of that kind of stuff. Like I don't even want to show you what that sleep course looked like. It was so lame back in 2018. So lame. So lame. Like now it's all really professional because we have things like Canva. Back in the day, I didn't really understand how to use Canva. So she asked like, how did you do all this? I said, I love Canva. I just would sit down and play with it all the time. And I spent a lot of time during COVID learning all of this stuff, because you had nothing else to do but sit down and play with your internet. So, that was pretty much like how I just sat and taught myself. And YouTube videos, you guys, like the University of YouTube is endless. You can find anything on YouTube. And now with Perplexity and Claude is my best friend at the minute. Like I'm getting it to redo all of my branding currently. It just redid my logos and stuff for me. I used to pay graphic designers to go and make logos for me. Now I'm just telling Claude, I'm like, hey, give me an updated, refreshed, elevated design of this. And it's spitting it out in like 3 minutes. And I'm like, oh my God, I love it. Yeah. So, so
There could
that's
not be a better time to be starting our own businesses and stuff. Don't you agree?
completely like right now, 2026, there is so much that can be done for you without you having to go and pay for all the things that I paid for back in the day.
And we are so glad that you were able to go out before us, try out all the things, and we get a benefit from your trial and error, Raywin. So I know we are at time. You got to run to your clients. I'll let you drop off here. I will remind everyone that Raywin will be back next week with us on Wednesday. You can ask additional questions of any kind during that session. So thanks so much, Raywin.
Thank you very much, and hope to see you all on the other side, like that you actually join the course, because I can't wait to help you guys get your businesses up and running and actually doing FDN in the real world and helping transform people's lives.
Thanks,
Bye,
Raywin.
everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Raywin is such an invaluable resource to our community, as well as Jen Maleka, our other business mentor. Raywin also does a weekly call for graduates called Monday Mastermind, and I am a regular on that call every week. We get to ask any business Q&A that we have of any kind, and it's so helpful, and it's just part of our AFDNP program once you graduate. Just we are so excited to have her. I know there were a lot of questions and a lot of references to previous sessions on biomechanic and the intricacies of that. So I want to just put up the replay access QR codes here for you. The current day's replay page is an instant replay page. That's going to be your code on the left. So for the sessions today, they will live on that instant replay page for 24 hours. If you want to catch any of the previous sessions, or have access to any of the upcoming sessions, you can purchase the replays with the QR code on the right-hand side. And that will give you permanent access to all of the sessions we've done over the last 2 weeks, as well as any of the sessions that are upcoming in the next 2.5 weeks. And right now, those replays are available for $49 starting next week on the 15th. That's actually going to go up, you guys, to $97. So if you are interested in getting any of the replays, I would encourage you to purchase those now with that QR code on your right for $49, because again, that is going to be going up next week. We are going to share that again at the end of the hour next time, and we can also put the link in the chat with our next session. I want to just, excuse me, do a little commercial break here and grab a drink of water, let everybody kind of get an opportunity to take a stretch break, run to the restroom, grab a drink yourself, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back, everybody. What an amazing session we just had with Ryan, going through the ins and outs of the Business in a Box program that she offers, as well as a little bit of behind the scenes behind biomechanic, which is our practitioner management portal. And we are super excited that you are all here joining us on Friday, the last day of week 2 of our summer open house. Oh my gosh, this has been just a jam-packed 2 weeks of behind the scenes looks, hearing from our mentors, hearing from current enrollees, hearing from our business mentors, and just hoping that you're getting a lot of value from these last couple of weeks. If you purchase the replays, you get access to them for lifetime. So again, we can go ahead and share that QR code or the link in our chat for those of you that are interested in that. I know some of you have been joining us every single day of this open house. Some of you are just joining us live today for the first time. We welcome you all. We know that some of you have recently joined our community by enrolling in our program, and we are really excited to hear that and see that. If you're on the fence, now is the perfect time to join us. We're offering the biggest discount of the year that we ever offer. It's $1,750 off the price of the course if you pay in full. And if you're not somebody who can pay in full, that's okay too. We also have payment plans available, and those are also at a discount right now during the month of June for our summer open house. You can get payments as low as $334 a month. That's 14% off any of our payment plans. We want this to be affordable and accessible to anyone that is wanting to join the FDN community and is feeling called to do this work with clients going forward. And you're seeing just like the community that we have within FDN, not only while you're going through the program, but after you graduate. We have so many resources and tools available to us that were not even available, to be honest with you, last year when I was completing the program. I am a recent grad myself, last August, just starting my business. And, the recent business in a box, the practitioner business essentials, the business launchpad, all of that has been amazing updates to our business courses. And we are so excited that we have these opportunities for those things, because I think so many of us as health coaches, health practitioners, we get into this work because we just want to help people. We want to help people heal themselves and get better and feel better. And we might not even be thinking about all those things that come along with like the business side of things, and we're talking about, um, CRMs and business management platforms and lead generators and all these things that were like foreign to me as well when I was first starting to think about building my own business. And the fact that we not only get the education to do the FDN work, but we also get those opportunities to learn from people like Raywin and Jen Maleka and have the tools for us to create automations and build all of those different like tools for having discovery calls and enrolling people. And, that is just an added benefit so that we don't have to necessarily focus on that and we can do the work that we love with helping other people. So our next session is another one of the resources that we have available to us as graduates. We host a segment called Detective Hour. And this is where we get one of our mentors within our programs come on and we get to do live case study review. This is another one that I absolutely never miss. People submit case studies and then we get one of our mentors to actually walk us through their thought process in sort of going through the lab results, formulating our dress protocol, and we get to ask questions as we go. So super valuable. It's probably one of the most valuable resources that we have within the community for ongoing clinical support, long after they get, certified. So like I said, we do this monthly. It's live. They also do record them. So if you cannot catch them live, they always live in the FDN Connect platform where we can access those as well. And it's usually things like complex cases and really helps us sort of sharpen our clinical skills. So what we're going to do this next hour is get a behind the scenes look at Detective Hour. And this is by one of our clinical advisors, Paula Reed. And she has been somebody that I have leaned on for clinical advisor sessions and is just so knowledgeable and such a great resource. And you'll get to see exactly how FDN practitioners connect the dots between like the client history, the lab findings, the dress protocols, and uncover the healing opportunities. So whether you're, just considering FDN or curious about the level of support our graduates receive, this is a great opportunity to experience what makes our community so unique and what opportunities and resources we have available to us, like once we graduate. So I'm going to go ahead and play the recording. And then at the end, we will have time for questions if you want to ask, about the program, about the course. Not necessarily going to be able to answer, answer all the questions maybe about like the case study that we're doing. If you have some, I could take a peek at them and see if it's something that I would know, but definitely anything about the course, the curriculum, joining FDN, resources that we have available when we graduate, definitely can answer those kinds of things as well. So just going to share this. and let Paula take it away. I was just wondering about that. So let's try this again. We want to. All right, thank you for bearing with me here. Well, we always figure out our wonderful technology. All right, you can probably see my little fur babies there. And we're gonna get Paula going again. Let me know if you can hear her this time.
Awesome. Thank you, Lucy. And thank you, Roselle, for submitting a case. Feel free to unmute yourself because we're going to be chatting back and forth a lot. All right. So I have one quick question up front. If you could just give me a first name to call this gentleman, so I'm not calling him dude the whole time. So what is his first name, dear?
Sure. We want to call him Geo.
Geo? Okay. Awesome. That's much better than just dude. All right. So Geo is a 68-year-old male. We're just going to review the case notes first, and then we'll go through lab by lab. So Geo is 68, and his main health complaints are fatigue, back and joint pain, and overweight. And I saw a little bit further down, you said he wants to lose 10 or more pounds. So is he just a little fluffier than he wants to be, or is it really just about 10 pounds or so? Okay. Okay, you can also unmute yourself, and you can stay unmuted if you
I
want.
thought I took that. Okay, there it is.
That's okay.
Yes.
That's
No,
okay.
he would like to lose more like 35 pounds, but he
Okay.
was being reasonable with his request of
Okay.
me.
Okay. I like that. I like it when they're very honest like that. So this has been going on for about 8 years. It's affecting him daily. Looks like he's kind of tried the keto diet, various medications, obviously. But this is preventing him from being as active as he wants to be because it is kind of hard to be physically active when you don't feel good, when you're tired and you have pain. So things that might prevent him from completing a health rebuilding program if he feels there's a lack of results. That's something that may not keep him motivated. I mean, I think that's true, probably everyone. But I'm glad to see that he said his wife will support him with any changes that are needed. So lose 10 pounds or more, but 30 is more of his goal, 30 to 35. But he's being reasonable. Okay, well, he's working with you. If he can get 10 pounds off, he's going to feel motivated. And obviously, he wants to increase his energy level. Very committed. I love it when they're even above a 10. This is someone who's I'm in this to do whatever I have to do, hopefully. So with the metabolic chaos scorecard and those points, so when we say decreasing and the ones that are increasing, do we mean since he started first working with you, or past versus present? I just want to make sure I understand.
Past versus present. So he was taking the baseline of when he had lost a lot of weight doing keto, but gained most of it back, and where he is now 8 years later, and then trying to tackle the issues again.
Okay, so since this time, the things that have definitely increased are the points in the detoxification section, nervous system, oxidative stress. Okay, so good things to know here. Now, we know that he has a medical diagnosis of asthma and sleep apnea, and that explains these medications, albuterol, matulacast, I usually say Flonase, it's just easier for me to say that, and salmeterol. So he's got a lot of medication management for the asthma especially, and some seasonal allergies, which were, I know, described as light somewhere. Do we know how long he's been on these medications by any chance? Just
Yes,
curious.
for a long time, since 1985.
That
So a
is a
long
very
time.
long time.
It
Okay, so, whew, all right. The fact that
is.
they weren't
And I think
mentioned,
me presenting him with from ourdrug.com, the interactions, that
yeah,
even has propelled him to do more. So
okay,
he is trying to do that with some help from his doctors. But anyway, there's a little bit of
yeah.
struggle with that timing now. The other thing I want
Right.
to mention is what came to light is he also has ADHD. But he didn't
Oh,
report
okay.
it because he's not taking any medications. But I thought that was interesting.
Right,
Might
right.
add.
Well, yeah. Okay, okay. So, and I'm glad that you mentioned about looking in that database already, because that is something I find that a lot of FDNs, especially newer ones, are not necessarily aware of, that natural medicines database. Being an AFDNP, I know it was down for just a little bit recently, but Lucy got it back for us. Thank you, Lucy, so that we can look up these potential contraindications and interactions, not because we want to tell our client to stop a medication that's been prescribed by a doctor, but you did the right thing by just saying, look, these are some of the possible interactions and contraindications, because he was also doing supplements on his own. And sometimes people don't look those things up, and it's really important that we help them with that education and with that coaching. So really, really glad that you mentioned that. Also taking naproxen, but very infrequently, probably for the pain, I would assume, since that's anti-inflammatory. Does take supplements regularly, sometimes misses these due to travel. The quality of the supplements appears to be high good for the most part, but I know you've also made some additional recommendations based on the lab results so far, and we'll talk more about that in just a little bit. So eats clean for the most part, grass-fed beef, organic foods, restricts carbs. I will say, when it comes to carb restriction, I feel like men do so much better with it than women do. I'm not a big fan of significant carb restriction in women. I think we're more prone to things like hormonal imbalances and thyroid and things like that. But some men do okay with it. But if you did it and you lost weight with it, but when you stop doing that particular plan, you gain it all back, that's obviously maybe not the most sustainable plan long term, right? So sometimes it's a little bit of a mix of things that we need to work on, where maybe he can eat some carbs, because obviously he missed them if he gained a lot of weight back after not doing keto. So we just always want to keep that in mind.
I will mention too, Paula, I think I tease him that he's over nutritioned because I think he eats too much. So he's
Oh,
consuming too much protein. I think it's more of a consumption matter than it is a
okay.
carbohydrate portion. But
Okay.
you will see too that he ended up realizing he had a major gluten sensitivity, which he thought he might have, but he hadn't done anything about it until we started working together. So
Good.
I think that has a lot to do with it too.
Awesome. Awesome. So eats out infrequently. He's conscious of things like seed oils, toxins, avoids what he can, drinks structured filtered water, aware of the gluten sensitivity, not diagnosed with anything. But now, based on the labs, he's realized maybe this is not my best friend. Um, some bad sleep hygiene. So inconsistent sleep hygiene, varied sleep hours, often awake through the early hours of the morning, typically gets 6 hours of sleep a night. Since you mentioned the sleep apnea, I'm curious, does he use a CPAP machine or anything?
He does.
Okay.
Yes, he
And
does
he's
for years.
still not sleeping well, even with that.
Correct. Correct.
Interesting, interesting. Because usually that helps a lot with sleep quality, and then people get a little bit better sleep. But if some of it is, does he just need some more habits and coaching around appropriate bedtimes and less blue light in the eyes, things like that?
Exactly. That's how the ADHD came up,
Okay.
is the fact that there's that sort of inconsistent behavior and he gets tapped into watching something after he eats and then You know, it's
Okay.
1 o'clock in the morning. But when he's disciplined about it and gets to bed at 10 o'clock, he can get a decent night's rest, but with help. So as you saw, he was taking melatonin and different things. Anyway, we can talk about that when we get to the supplements, because it doesn't always help for him, the
Right.
melatonin and the super
Okay.
patches. He takes a super patch too. But
Okay.
anyway, okay.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, this is someone who's really going to benefit from some hand holding, coaching, and reinforcing those good habits, right? So the exercise is also poor and inconsistent. Enjoys electric bikes, walking on the beach, martial arts, yoga, but doesn't do it as much because of the pain. Certainly understand that. And it's interesting, I see this so much. I saw it with my own husband that when you remove some of those inflammatory foods, especially if gluten is a major player, sometimes that joint pain really, really decreases. And then suddenly they're able to be more active and do more things because that inflammation is no longer contributing to that joint pain. Not to say that it's always just the food part, but that can be a huge contributor. Not so much GI symptoms with food sensitivities, that can be there, but most of the time it's the more systemic symptoms, and joint pain can be huge for that. So yeah,
You
that's
nailed it, right? You nailed it, Paula, because that's where he got the most benefit, was even in the first 3 weeks, just changing his diet, which he thought doing this sort of kind of somewhat keto-like diet was good for him, but turned out wasn't really serving him well with his joint pain and some of the other issues. So yeah, that's exactly right. So with less inflammation, started doing yoga again, and things of that nature. Still needs greater consistency with it, but the higher energy level he felt just from changing the diet.
perfect. That's exactly what we want to see. So travels frequently, so driving 12 hours or more. He's in the car a lot, so there's a lot of inactivity on the days that he's having to travel, and even just sometimes when you're on a time crunch, this may be more difficult. But I've worked with some clients that had similar work like that, where they're in the car so much, and I'm like, you just need to take breaks. When there are places that you can pull over, rest stops, whatever, get out, stretch your legs, do a few squats, whatever, just to keep the blood flowing. Because when you're driving for 12 hours, that's not good. If you've heard the whole sitting is the new smoking kind of thing, I mean, it creates oxidative stress. It causes the blood flow and the lymph flow to not be as good. So that was just one little tip I wanted to mention when I saw that
I
sometimes he
think
has
that's
to drive
important.
for long
Good.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was divorced some years ago, but now happily married for 19. That's awesome. Adult children can be stressful. Yes, they can. And surgeries are mostly dental, at least one tooth implant, several caps, crowns. Funny because we had some discussion yesterday during peer-to-peer, I think,
Yes.
about some of the dental stuff. And one thing that I think is really important when someone's had a lot of dental work like this done is making sure that oral hygiene is really, really um, there as part of the whole lifestyle thing. Something that I know I was taught, because we're in a similar age range, that we don't brush our teeth till after we have our breakfast or do whatever else in the morning. And I tell people the exact opposite, like brush your teeth first thing upon awakening before you drink water, drink coffee, eat food, take supplements, anything, because some people do collect a lot of bacteria in their mouth. And I find that people who have had a lot of dental issues tend to be some of those people. And then when you have all this bacteria in your mouth, you're just washing it right down into your gullet if you're not brushing your teeth and scraping your tongue or brushing your tongue first thing in the morning. So I always like to emphasize that as well, especially with people where we know there's a history of dental issues.
Good. I'll emphasize that. That's good. Yes, thank you.
So again, regularly takes supplements, occasionally misses because of the travel, but tolerance is high, budget is available. That's great. So he does some things like the Armra, colostrum, NAC, magnesium, D3, K2. Some of these are really good supplements. I mean, again, I don't know the brands, but I mean, those are things that, generally could be very helpful. Regularly consumes probiotics, prebiotics. So he's aware of gut health. So yes, he's on the prescriptions for the asthma and the allergies. He's had dental surgery, tonsils and adenoids removed, which is another thing. Tonsils and adenoids are like the first line of defense at the back of the throat to keep bacteria from getting into the upper respiratory tract and the stomach. So he's missing that. So that's another reason for the really important good oral hygiene.
Exactly. And he's very furious with his mother for having them removed at 4 years old.
You
So
know,
having a vital void with it, but it is what it is.
it
Yes.
is, and that's recommended all the time, right?
Yeah.
So But no, like no cancer, no bone breaks, things like that, and no other kind of surgery outside of the dental stuff. So that's good. So yeah, feels that we can address the concerns following the proper dress protocol. Absolutely. You've provided a great summary of everything here. So in the past, his metabolic chaos score was 334. Now it's 371. I mean, it's only mildly higher, but kind of depends on how far back he was going with, how long ago did I feel my best, whatever. So he's also a fast oxidizer by metabolic typing. Again, a great synopsis here. We're just going to look at each lab individually and talk through those things as we do that. But I did want to scroll forward because let's see here. So for the diet recommendations based on these labs, you've already met with him and you've already recommended the no gluten, alcohol, sugar, dairy, and I know except for the L-Reuteri culture that Dr. William Davis talks about.
Right, he got that super gut book once he saw his results and wanted to try the L-Reuteri. And then when we got the MRT though, were looking at that. So I originally said, well, all right, you could try it, but because of his reaction to cow's milk and dairy, he did switch over to the non-dairy version that he's making of L-Reuteri,
Okay, is
or
he
at
doing
least
like
for now.
coconut milk or something, like a
Yes,
coconut
coconut
yogurt?
milk.
Okay,
That's it.
perfect. I was going to point that out, so I'm glad that you mentioned that. No corn, no soy. So these are like the most cross-reactive foods, the most inflammatory foods, and as you've already said, he's already seen an improvement with the inflammation and the joint pain just by following dietary recommendations, which is awesome. Food really does work. Eating only the green foods on the MRT, which we'll look at first here in a second. I know he says he plans to transition back to keto paleo, and you have to do what is sustainable. And if he likes a more keto approach and it's working for him, that's fine. I love paleo, keto paleo, a blend of that, just real whole food. As long as he's focusing on real whole food, he can tweak his macronutrients as he sees fit. Again, I feel like men historically do better with very low carb and either higher fat or high protein, but it's just something to continue um, to pay attention to, just advise him to listen to his body and what is going on with that. Doesn't currently drink alcohol or consume soy. Hallelujah. I felt sorry that he's distraught about the egg yolks and the yogurt out of the diet, but it makes sense to
Every time
follow
I
the
talk to
recommendations.
him,
I know it's so hard. Those 90 days will pass, and hopefully, at least with the egg yolks, that won't be problematic. I don't think food sensitivities are supposed to be forever. One
okay,
possible exception is gluten because gluten has immune system memory. So
yeah.
if you are sensitive to gluten, I'm of the mindset that you should probably never reintroduce it. I know different people have different opinions, but I'm just telling you what I believe. What I believe the research shows that gluten truly has immune system memory. Everything else might be negotiable. So, he can deal with that when the 90 days is up and you walk him through reintroduction and how to listen to his body.
I
Um,
agree that, by the way, I agree with what you said about the egg yolks. That's what I told him. I said, that can be the first food you try to introduce
yeah,
after 90
yeah,
days. But I think that's had a huge impact because that's what he was eating. He said that was his morning breakfast every day was a piece of toast and a couple of eggs. And now, that toast had gluten in it and the egg. So I think
yeah,
it has
yeah.
he's seeing a big change by just changing that portion of his diet, but he
Awesome.
would like to resume the egg. So
I
I'm
don't
glad you said
blame.
what you said about maybe after the 90 days,
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
that piece of the diet can come back in because I believe in eggs. I think,
Mhm.
depending on the kind you get, like the eggs can be very healthy, but
Oh,
not if you're having a reaction, like he was having a
absolutely.
sensitivity to the yolks.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
the thing with food sensitivities, my humble opinion is we have food sensitivities because of other dysfunction in the body, primarily leaky gut. That's what causes our body to react to things. And I know the MRT testing is a little different than like IgG, antibody testing, and things like that, but I still believe the general premise is true. We develop food sensitivities because of other dysfunction in the body. So we're only eliminating foods to reduce inflammation so we can work on body healing. And then some foods may be able to be reintroduced very well without any issues. I just know that gluten is the one that may never be able to be successfully reintroduced because of that immune system memory.
Agreed. And the
Um,
other thing I just want to mention too, Paula, is that I had met with Ethan, and Ethan gave did slightly different instructions around using the results of the food sensitivity. So Gio decided he was going to follow, when I talked with him about, Ethan's instructions, he was going to follow that. So he's only like up to 1.7 as far as food sensitivity. So he was not even eating all of the green foods. I just
okay.
mentioned that because
Yeah.
I thought it was nice that he was willing to give it a go,
Mhm.
even though he's already giving up so many other foods. So
Yes, and that is, I know that the MRT folks will often recommend that to more quickly bring down inflammation, to say some of those borderline green foods, that may be a way of doing it. And if someone wants to do that, totally fine. There are some people that are so overwhelmed with even just a handful of restrictions that I wouldn't do that in someone like that. But if someone is like, I am so desperate because I feel so bad and I want my quality of life back and I want to be physically active, so I'm willing to eliminate 4, great, you know. But yeah, that is a good point, because often their recommendation will be, what is it, 1.7 and above, eliminate even in the green. And that's fine if you want to recommend that and a client is willing to do it, but I wouldn't sweat it if a client still wants to eat all the green food. It really is very, very individual depending upon who you're working with, right?
right, yeah, good. I'm in line with what you're saying as well. Like I was telling you, well, you already have to give up the other foods, so but you want to give it a try. And I just thought I would share that because he has seen the benefits of the reduced inflammation straight away. So maybe it does have
Okay.
something to do with that. We'll see when he introduces those other foods if he has any sort of change to his inflammation.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
awesome. So I know you've provided some recommendations for him, a very detailed protocol for improving his sleep hygiene. With exercise, absolutely agree. Regular exercise, don't overdo it based on when we get to the SHP. I think you made a note that he was exhaustive phase, but according to the test comparison worksheet, he's actually compensatory, but he's in the low end of compensatory with his total cortisol. So we'll look at that in just a second too. But regardless, we don't want
Okay,
him
good.
to overdo it, but being active to some degree on a regular basis is still good. Stress reduction is just so important. I swear, I wish that dress could be renamed where S is at the very beginning. It just doesn't form a word because I feel like stress is just such a leading factor in so much of the chaos that we experience, right? So meditation, breathing exercises, apps are great to recommend, whether it's for meditation or breath work, whatever, yoga even. There's just so many ways that we can do this to help people understand that self-care is so incredibly important. The supplements, we can talk through that as we're talking through the lab specifically, but just quickly, I know that you discussed about eradicating the H. pylori, addressing the bacteria imbalances, kind of a phased approach here, waiting for maturity. That's cool. Again, we'll get into more detail with each lab if that's okay, as we're
Sure.
talking through that. And then he was surprised by his test results, apparently, but pleased with the knowledge. Yes, agree. That's why we test, don't guess. And great that he's already seen such progress, even just with the dietary changes. Even though he's very upset about the eggs, I absolutely understand that. So, with your first progress note that you've done, feeling better, regaining energy, he's following the diet recommendations other than cream in his coffee. Okay, like dairy cream, is that what he's having still?
Yes, I think so. I
We
think
can
so. But
lead
I
a
think
horse.
I think I convinced him. I'll be meeting with him again on Thursday, but I think I convinced him and he's now no longer doing that regularly.
Okay. And some people need a phased approach. I mean, let's just be honest. We can lead that horse to the water. We can't make them drink it, but we can keep trying to coach them on the reasons why it is really best to eliminate all that inflammation by eliminating that completely. But he's going to do what he's going to do. All you can do is continue to try and coach him on all the benefits of that. Sleep hygiene has improved. So 7 hours average now. That's not bad. That is not bad at all. I don't think everybody on the planet necessarily needs 8 hours of sleep. That's just a guide. And if 7 hours he's feeling refreshed and good, hallelujah. Um, so he's starting a sleep protocol at 12:30, but that's better than 1:30. So okay, again, baby steps sometimes are what is needed. So taking some more time for self-care, still a little more stressed. Okay, so just keep this is a long haul thing. This isn't something that changes. in one check-in, but we're still seeing improvement in things, right? So very happy with the changes he's experienced in such a short time, only 2 weeks. Notable increase in energy, reduced inflammation, fewer aches and pains in general. Hallelujah. Noticed his wrists are not hurting, skin has improved, overall well-being enhanced. You know you're on the right track, honestly, when you see this degree of improvement already in only 2 weeks. In only 2 weeks. So that is awesome. Now, let's go ahead
Studying.
and just quickly look at these. So the MRT, I scroll through, and soybean, interestingly enough, was the only red on here, but certainly plenty of things in the yellow. So what I typically do is, just to make it super easy, I go to the bottom where the little summary is. One thing that I just wanted to point out, because we talk about like foods that may be cross-reactive as well, and what I found interesting was, so, barley is a gluten-containing grain. Corn is not a gluten-containing grain, but highly cross-reactive with wheat and gluten. Cottage cheese, which is cow dairy, which is highly cross-reactive with wheat and gluten. Kamut is actually an ancient form of wheat, so also a gluten-containing grain. Millet is actually a gluten-free grain, but highly cross-reactive as well, as are peanuts. And then we have wheat and yogurt. There were a lot of foods in that one category of potential cross-reaction, right?
Yes.
So
He did not know that. I think he was very surprised by it.
Yep. So a lot of things there, and soybean. Soybean is also cross-reactive with gluten, and peanuts and soybean, of course, are in the same family of legumes. So lots of kind of either food family here or highly cross-reactive foods, like, between the different gluten-containing grains and cow dairy, which could indicate, not that he's going to want to hear this, but cow dairy may not be his best friend ever either. Not to recommend another test right now, but just for FYI information, like when we do food zoomer testing, because we're testing down to the peptide level, there are certain peptides, like in cow dairy, certain peptides within corn, certain peptides within oat, that can determine whether those foods are truly cross-reactive for you with gluten sensitivity. So when we do a test like this, or basic IgG testing without the peptide information, I just always like to point out that corn and dairy may never be his best friend, just because if he happens to be reactive to the particular peptides in those foods, because of gluten and wheat having that immune system memory, they just may never be his friend. All right. We don't know that for sure. Based on this, I'm just pointing it out.
Right. And since I haven't had many men clients, I'm curious though, Paula, what do you think about the soybean? I kind of expected to see that with men and soybean, the way that testosterone interacts with soybean. Is there any consistency there that you've seen across your clients with that?
I'm honestly trying to think now. How many? I mean, I have a male client that I worked with last year that had really, really significant psoriasis, and soybean did show up high on his, along with gluten and dairy and corn. I will say that. That is one that comes to mind because it was just last year. I really work with so many more women than men, but I have had male clients over the years. Just recently, that's one that stands out, where those were all the big hitters with him. And when he eliminated all of those and gave up and worked on healing his gut, within 2 months, every drop of psoriasis disappeared. It's been a year and a half and it's still gone.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if that is thing with just men in general, but I mean, I did have that with a male client last year, so I guess that counts. Looking at the metabolic wellness profile, I do have, you can see the test comparison worksheet too, right? I think I'm sharing it here.
I'm going to have to go back and look at what I did, because when I did it came up exhaustive. So
So-
I'm looking very closely at what you did here and how I made that mistake. So
So
I used the form.
Yeah, so one thing to point out, when you are using the test comparison worksheet, this is for everyone on the call listening in, make sure you go to the document hub and download the latest, greatest version of it, because it was just updated in May. And that was an update since April of last year. So that's kind of a big jump. And I don't know if it gets announced somewhere or if there's an email anywhere. I honestly don't know. But I check it periodically because I know, and I just happened to catch that. So it was updated. So if you used an old one, that may be why that it's showing a little bit different. So just a heads up for everyone, you're using the test comparison worksheet, just take that extra 30 seconds, go into FDN Connect, the document hub under the results tab at the very top. It's always going to have the most recent one there. Okay.
I know I just graduated in March, so I had set up all my documents for ready to go with clients, and I thought, oh, these are up to date. And then
Yeah.
they
But
just
it just
updated. So, well, this
updated
is
in
good to know.
May.
Yeah, thank you.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you can download that one, but I will, it's so much easier to have it on your computer so that you can use it with all your clients. But periodically, I would check because I don't know if you get an email or something. So I would just check that. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So, yeah. So one thing to point out, which probably everyone is aware of, but I'll just mention it again, lab ranges and our FDN optimal ranges are a little different. Not for diagnostic purposes, because we don't diagnose anyway, but for trying to be as far away from a state of dysfunction or disease as possible. So like with the indican, it's showing low. And I think most people would look at that as, well, it's okay as long as it's not yellow or red. But when we look at the test comparison worksheet, we actually want indican to be in this light green area. So this is only slightly above optimal, but it certainly could correlate if there's any poor digestion going on. This is something that we're going to correlate along with the GI map as well, right? But just wanted to point out that while it's technically within lab range, it is still considered high based on FDN optimal ranges. And then same with total bile acids. We're seeing moderate or what we might call borderline high of total bile acids, indicating potentially some issues with bile flow and liver detox capability. And honestly, in today's world, I don't know who doesn't need liver support because we live in a toxic world and our food is toxic and our water is toxic. And even when you try and make the healthiest choices possible, it's just really, really hard to avoid toxins sometimes. But again, we're actually seeing it as a high on the test comparison worksheet because what would be ideal here would be in the green, right? We don't want it too low. This is malabsorption. We don't want it too high. We want it to be just right. And that just right range is the green on the actual fluids IQ lab. And with 8-OHDG, again, moderate borderline, based on FDN, they actually want to see it right down here in the lowest light green possible. So we know there's oxidative stress. And honestly, the way that I look at this, not to negate what is considered optimal with FDN, but with every decade of our life, part of aging is oxidative stress. Now, certainly there are going to be diet and lifestyle habits that can accelerate that and things that can help slow it down. Honestly, at 68, I'm kind of happier it's not any higher for him. I'm just saying. I know it's not optimal based on the FDN standards, but I'm like, at 68, that's not too bad. But certainly that is something that can still improve. I've seen people in their 70s improve oxidative stress because it is the diet, the lifestyle, stress reduction, and antioxidant foods and supplements that can contribute here. So we can wrap it all up at the end with supplements, but as we go through this lab by lab, where there's some particular supplements, because you didn't upload it because there wasn't a place for you to upload it, and I didn't ask you to send it to me, but would you like to share with me right now what supplements you were thinking just based on this, realizing
Yes.
that we want to correlate more with the GI map too, but
Yes, I would love you to help me with that because one of the things I was looking at, with his adrenals and the need for that, and even though compensatory could still use some help, right?
Yeah.
I was looking at BMX Adapt Align because of the one with the support adrenals that contains the notice there is saying if you have high testosterone that you wouldn't want to take that one. But again, I'm gonna have to go back and redo the form. So my question to you is, do you agree with that, Paula? Should I recommend the BMX Adapt Align rather than the support adrenals?
I'm looking at the Adaptoline really quickly here because it's been a hot second since I've looked at it. So give me just a moment here.
Absolutely, no problem. Yeah, but he's very open and interested in taking something for his adrenals. He does believe that that's an area for help in it's an area that he's not already supplementing.
I think adaptogenic support is very important. So I wouldn't use this one because it has phosphatidylserine in it, and phosphatidylserine lowers cortisol. And he's in compensatory, but he's at the lower end of compensatory, trending towards exhaustive. So I'm afraid this one is more for if cortisol is actually trending higher, because phosphatidylserine, and this is 100 milligrams of phosphatidylserine, so that one can potentially lower cortisol, which we don't want to do in this case. So the other one you said was called, which one were you looking at?
Well, which one? You were just looking at the Adaptoline?
This is Adaptoline, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the other one I was looking at is the support adrenals, or there's one that says the Claire Labs adrenal support formula that's hormone free.
Yeah. The hormone free, that one might be the best, but let me just look at the support adrenals really quick again. I just want to make sure there's no, so pregnenolone, DHEA.
They do say about not using it with high testosterone.
It doesn't have high testosterone though, so this would be fine. I think support adrenals would be a good adaptogenic formula that doesn't raise or lower cortisol specifically, but simply support the adrenals while you're working through all the other things to help. Now there is some DHEA in that, which is good for him. He needs some DHEA, although I think he's going to need more than what's in that one adaptogenic product. But that is the one that if you're going to use one of those, the support adrenals would be a better choice.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Okay. And we can talk more about some liver support as we continue to move on, and especially as we look at like GM.
Well, that's the other one. Yeah. But for now, let's just, I'm glad I got that feedback from you. And again, I'm gonna have to look at his testosterone levels first. On the
I've got it. Yeah, I've got it pulled up here. So we'll go over that. I got the SHP pulled up last, but we will get to that. So, all right. Moving on to the MBA. So many things made so much sense to me when I looked at this, so it probably did to you too, right?
Yeah.
And then when we look at the GI mapping combination, I'm like, yep, this is why he has so many histamine issues. So first of all, the zonulin, yes, borderline on here, but outside of what we consider optimal. We know he's got leaky gut, okay? And this is also another potential correlation with the gluten activity contributing to the leaky gut. The histamine is showing borderline on fluids IQ. But again, when we look at histamine on the test comparison worksheet, 0.7 is the top of what we consider the optimal range, and he's at 1.0. That's only a mild thing, but we are seeing a little more histamine than what might be desirable. And then the DAO is where it's really bad, because I know it's over to the right, but this means low because it's in the red, right? So we're seeing less than 8.4 production, where with DAO optimal would be 15 to 40, and he's only at like what is this DAO? 4.4. So this is indicating he's not producing enough DAO to break down the histamine. So he doesn't have a huge amount of histamine in his gut, but with such very, very, very poor DAO production, that is what is driving his histamine to DAO ratio to be so high. Right. So I'm thinking you would probably recommend a DAO supplement here. Is that what you were thinking of doing to help break down histamine?
I am thinking of that, and it's very timely because he's already done the Matula tea now for the 30 days, and so he's ready for adding in his next supplement. So that's what I wanted to find out from you as far as at the end, what you think is the next top priority. I was thinking it is around this area of DAO or liver support, and both. Absolutely. Actually, you can already start on the liver support. He's already started on that.
Yeah, I think the liver support and adding this in as soon as possible would be a really good idea, because he's on so many medications to manage allergies and asthma. And think of this as, this could be like a mast cell kind of response going on. This can be one of the primary drivers, Again, we can't tell someone, oh, as long as you fix all this stuff going on in your gut, you may not need asthma medication or allergy medication. But the truth is, he may be able to reduce it at some point. He may be able to discontinue some at some point. We don't tell him to do that, but eventually he may be able to talk to his doctor about doing something like that, because so much of this can be driven by what is going on here in the gut. And this was a huge clue, a very huge clue. Ready to move on to the GI map?
I am. I think GI map was really interesting. We spent a lot of time on that. I'm very interested to hear what you say about it.
Okay. So at least nothing showed up on the first page, which is awesome, right? We don't want to see any of those pathogens on the first page. Now, H. pylori is not only present, but it's actually elevated. And I know there are a lot of myriad of opinions around when do we address H. pylori or not, but for me, when it's elevated, that absolutely, you're absolutely going to want to address it. And as I recall, you said he was on some oil of oregano and he did some mastic gum waiting on the Matula tea to come in, and now he's completed 30 days of Matula tea. Awesome.
Yes,
So
correct.
great approach, great approach. I like that. It's fine to combine things, not necessarily. I know that Matula tea has some warnings around using mastic gum at the same time as
Right.
Matula
He
tea.
stopped that.
Yeah, but you
That's
can
right.
use it before or after, and that's not a bad strategy when someone has elevated H. pylori. You know, I think the efficacy of Matula tea is really high. So that's awesome, but there's nothing wrong with doing a combination approach like that. Very effective.
Well, he's open to doing this test again, but further out, sometime in late fall. But I'm curious, Paul, is there something you could do just to test only for, H. pylori itself, or
There
to
is an
see
H.
whether those?
pylori. There's an H. pylori only test available through DSL, and you can order it through, Avexia or the MDP,
Yeah.
whatever ordering platform. It is a stool test, but it only looks at H. pylori and
Oh,
virulence
okay.
factors. So it's like I think it's $109, something like that. So if that's
Okay.
really the only thing you want to test to make sure it's good and gone, then you could do that as an
And
option.
there's no other test that doesn't involve the stool sample or anything like that. I was wondering if there's anything else, whether it's a
Mm,
breathalyzer or some
yeah.
sort of thing.
So
No.
not that we have access to,
Okay.
doctors will use the breath test, but I would want to compare apples to apples because
Yeah. All right.
qPCR testing is the most sensitive for H. pylori. I would just recommend doing the same thing, but just so you know, it is available as a standalone stool test as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure. Looking at the commensals, overall not bad. And this kind of speaks to the fact that you mentioned he's primarily eating home cooked food. He's not eating out a lot. He has used pro and prebiotics. I don't know what he was using before, but this looks pretty darn good, right? I mean, we do see Enterococcus high, we see lactobacillus high. Now, sometimes lactobacillus can be high based on the type of probiotic you are using. So that is worth looking at, like what are the strains and the one he's using. Maybe he needs to rotate a little bit more, like sometimes using spore-based and rotating with like a bifidobacterium-based species is sometimes the best approach. That's what I usually recommend. But also when lactobacillus or enterococcus are just a little elevated, this might be pointing to there's some digestive dysfunction going on. Well, he's 68 and he has elevated H. pylori, and we'll see some other things on the intestinal markers that just kind of correlates, right? If there's digestive dysfunction, then some of these bacteria may become overgrown. But when we look at the bacterial phyla, which, these are the two most populated dormitories of bacteria in our gut, they're both within range. We do see the Firmicutes starting to trend a little bit higher in
Right.
comparison to Bacteroidetes, but the ratio is still fine. The ratio is still fine. I still look at that sometimes as this might be a result of a little bit of metabolic dysfunction. Do we know anything about his blood sugar or hemoglobin A1C, anything like that?
Well, I know one of the reasons why he went on the keto diet 8 years ago is because his blood sugar was trending high. Both his parents are type 2 diabetic. And so it is an area that he keeps an eye on, as well as his insulin resistance.
Okay. And this is our first time looking at this, and we don't know what this might have looked like 8 years ago, or, what it looked like when he was actively doing keto at the time or whatever. But when Firmicutes is trending higher or is higher than Bacteroidetes, this can be indicating a little bit of metabolic dysfunction. To this degree, I don't think it's a big deal. But when you start seeing this ratio creep up, we are thinking metabolic changes in the gut, which can be a clue into blood sugar, be a clue into how his energy is being extracted from the calories that he eats, things like that. So, just something to be aware of and keep an eye on. But right now it's okay. I'm just noting that it's trending a little bit higher. But overall, this commensal bacteria doesn't look that bad to me, right?
Yeah,
What?
it was the next one. It's the opportunistic one that looked like a
Yeah.
mess. I mean,
Yeah.
considering the commensal looks good, I was surprised by this.
Yeah, sometimes that is surprising. We expect to see opportunistic become opportunistic when commensals are really low. When we don't
Yes.
have the army of good guys, that's when the bad guys go, "Huh, all right, I'm going to take over now." But even when the good guys look okay, the bad guys can still start taking over. Again, with the bacillus being high, sometimes I see this higher based on probiotic use. So like right now, I don't know that I would personally say he should be on a probiotic. Maybe, well, he has just completed an H. pylori protocol, so it might be okay, but you might want to look at like a bifidobacterium species or something, maybe not something with, like lactobacillus in it, things like that. But all of these being elevated is saying, okay, we're getting a little bit more inflammation going on in the gut. The enterococcus being high, inflammation, digestive dysfunction. Pseudomonas, if you weren't already aware, these are also histamine producing bacteria. So one of the reasons that histamine may be trending higher in his what we looked at on the not the MBA, yeah, the MBA. I get those two confused. The MBA showing that less than stellar histamine. This is a histamine producing bacteria, so we definitely want to make sure that this is brought under control because both of these are decently elevated. E6 versus E4 being the top end of the reference range, E4 versus E2 being the top of the reference range. These are also what are known as LPS producers, lipopolysaccharides. So they go out and deliberately create leaky gut as well. So we want to get rid of these guys. And one thing that can be beneficial, if it wasn't already in your protocol, was maybe bringing in just one round, like one bottle of that Mega IgG from Microbiome Labs, because Mega IgG will act as a binder to those lipopolysaccharides that are endotoxins in the gut. So they create more inflammation, they create toxins in the gut, they create leaky gut. Whenever I see like Pseudomonas elevated, I'm like, I want to hit that. I want to hit that right away. So were you thinking of any other antimicrobials like biocidin or things like that to help address that?
I did put biocidin down on my list, and that's something I wanted to talk to you about to see what your feeling was with that. Where I had the biocidin, both the liquid biocidin and also the biocidin GI detox. Even though he's done the Matula tea, so I wanted to kind of get your feeling on that.
Yeah, I think the biocidin is very appropriate in a situation like this. We have 6 elevated opportunistic bacteria. Did have elevated H. pylori. So, you've used the oil of oregano and the mastic gum and then followed it up with the Matula tea. So I think we've taken care of the H. pylori likely, right? Because like 30 days of Matula tea is the equivalent of like 60 days of mastic gum. So you did some mastic gum plus that. So I think the H. pylori is likely taken care of, but now is a great time to bring in that biocidin. GI detox is a great binder. And whether you do it now or in another phase, up to you how much you think you can handle at one time. But I still think one round of the Mega IgG would be a good idea because of the Pseudomonas being so high. We want to bind to those LPS. We want to stop his gut from continuing to get leaky while you're trying to heal from everything else. So I think bringing that in soon would be a good idea.
Okay, so of them all, the next one is really the Mega IgG as far as priorities. Okay, got it. Thank you.
With the biocidin and the GI.
With the biocidin,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Always want to have that GI detox on board, obviously, or a binder of your choice when you're doing any kind of antimicrobial work, because as you're stirring up the dust, that's when sometimes people get symptoms. And it's not necessarily a reaction to the biocidin. Sometimes people have a reaction, but sometimes it's just this is part of the healing journey when we are uncovering other things because we're disrupting the biofilm. Other things can be revealed. So some people sometimes get those systemic reactions like headaches, or they may have a little bit more fatigue. Sometimes they see skin rashes, whatever. But that's why we always want to have a binder on board when we are using those antimicrobials and those biofilm disruptors, because it's really more to try and prevent those Herx reactions that people get, right? Nothing else. Go ahead.
Well, before you leave this page, so again, my form, and it messed it up but I was showing his testosterone, and I do see it's lower when you compare it to the range here. But is there anything else you would do with regard to what we've seen there in the SHP, test? Yes, we talked about the compensatory. Yes, his hormones are what they are. We don't have the same sort of measures that we do for women. But I was just curious as to if there's anything else there.
We will. Let's finish this last page and then we'll hop right over to the SHP next. How about that?
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. So we see really significant need for digestive help here. I just want to confirm he's definitely not type 1 diabetic. We know he's not vegan vegetarian because he's eaten a lot of meat and keto and all of that. As we age, it is normal for digestive capacity to weaken. It is part of the aging process, but this is really low. Now, the reference range says we just want it to be over 200. That's just to keep it out of the red. What is optimal is 500 and above. In my humble experience as a clinical advisor, I would say if it's under 100, he should show this to his doctor just for medical oversight. Okay. I wouldn't want to just chalk it up to age because there's some people who have pancreatitis and sometimes the symptoms aren't super obvious. And when something is this far out of lab range with a marker like this, it's just medical oversight. He may choose to go to his doctor or not, but I would just say, has this ever been tested before? And are you comfortable just showing this to your primary care physician to make sure there's no other test he would want to run? Okay. It's likely just very significant pancreatic insufficiency. And doctors can prescribe digestive enzymes too. They're not any better than what we recommend in my experience. But just because it's under 100, if this were my client, I would advise him to show it to his doctor. Nothing may come of that, but I would advise him to show it to his doctor.
Okay, well, he's going to ask me, is there anything that I would recommend for that? So besides
Digestive
showing it to his
enzymes.
doctor.
Digestive enzymes for sure. He needs digestive enzymes regardless, but the doctor may want to correlate with some blood labs and decide to even do an ultrasound on the pancreas just to make sure there's not an actual medical issue with the pancreas, like pancreatitis. Okay. So I doubt that that's an issue given he's not talking about horrible abdominal pain, vomiting, and things like fever, but just for medical
Okay.
oversight because we're non-licensed and that is so far below what is actual lab range is when we should recommend, hey, just show it to your doctor, not to alarm him, but just to make sure we're covering all the bases.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
But he needs digestive enzymes in a big way. And he
Got that
likely
too.
has very low stomach acid. Anything under 350 is indicating low stomach acid. And that correlates with having elevated H. pylori. So we don't know how long he's had it. You know, he could have it for
Right.
years for all we know. So
Okay.
unfortunately, when you have H. pylori, I'm in the camp that you don't use any betaine HCl while you actively have it. But since he's finished his H. pylori protocol, you could do a stool test to retest for the H. pylori to see if it's completely gone. A lot of people just say, as soon as we finish the eradication protocol, we're going to introduce the digestive enzymes with betaine HCl because we want to make sure he's got sufficient stomach acid. He is just the perfect host for every pathogen he gets exposed to, wanting to hang out in his body because with low stomach acid, that's the first line of defense for the gut. And he doesn't have it. So, digestive enzymes with betaine HCl if he's done with the H. pylori protocol. There are several brands. I don't know if you have a favorite brand. Pure Encapsulations has digestive enzymes ultra with betaine HCl, and that is a great one that's very well tolerated. Thorne has one. It used to be called Biogest, and now it's called something else. I think it's called Advanced Digestive Enzymes or something like
Yes.
that. But that has
Yeah.
the betaine and the pancreatic enzymes. He needs all of that. Now steatocrit is only in the borderline. It's not optimal, obviously. This is showing 6% undigested fat, but because he has a tendency to eat higher fat, keto-ish, that may be an indication that, okay, he's maybe eating a little more than what he can digest. But digestive enzymes with betaine HCl are also going to help with that. You could consider also adding in something like TUDCA to improve bile flow. It thins the bile flow and that can help with the fat digestion as well. If he still has his gallbladder, I'm personally reluctant to use something with ox bile in it because I see people react very negatively if they still have their gallbladder a lot. So that's just a thought there. Does that make sense?
Perfectly. Thank you. It's a great
Okay.
idea.
Now, he does also have elevated B-glucuronidase, decently elevated. He's at 2957. So this is indicating recirculation of toxins in his gut, and that can create the aches and pains. That can create fatigue. That can cause skin issues with some people, so many different things. This is where calcium deglucarate really comes in handy. Calcium deglucarate acts like a binder to B-glucuronidase and pulls those toxins and allows your body to eliminate them with waste. Now, we want to be really careful with women when we're recommending calcium deglucarate, not that it's not appropriate, but calcium deglucarate also binds to recirculating estrogen. So we just want to be mindful when we look at his SHP, we can see his estrogen's a little stronger than progesterone. So it's only going to help him anyway. But calcium deglucarate, usually at like that 500 milligrams once a day for 30 days, based on this degree of elevation, is what I would recommend to really bind to those toxins, get them out of the system so he can eliminate them with his stool, and then additional liver support to just help that glucuronidation pathway. We talked about that. The total bile acids were not optimal. B-glucuronidase is not optimal. We know this gentleman needs some liver support as well. Okay.
Right.
And then SIG-A is obviously really, really low. It's capped to 210, so we don't know just how low it is. The mega IgG with the bovine immunoglobulins is also supportive of SIG-A because it's immune modulating. So when we see high or low SIG-A, it's not about how can we lower it or how can we raise it, but how can we support the immune system so that it's behaving appropriately. And I do see this a lot like low SIG-A when someone has, say, trending lower cortisol, because this is likely a sign of chronic stress over the years, not just mental emotional stress, but all the other stressors, all these other hidden things that you found in these labs. And now his immune system, some of the battery power is being borrowed from the immune system to keep his HPA axis going. So this is low. So the mega IgG is also going to help with this. And I don't know what you were thinking of Seal and Heal, but let me throw out that Mega Mucosa might be a great option here for a couple of reasons. It also has bovine immunoglobulins in it, a little lesser degree than the Mega IgG, but after you complete one round of the Mega IgG, you could then transition to Mega Mucosa to further support the immune system, and it has all of the amino acids except L-glutamine to seal and heal that leaky gut. And the reason I would be cautious with L-glutamine with him is because of the histamine issues. He's got high histamine producing bacteria. He's on 3 medications for allergies and asthma. We saw the histamine issue with the MBA. So L-glutamine is sometimes a little activating in people who have histamine issues. So Mega Mucosa could be a great seal and heal without the L-glutamine. Does that make sense?
It does. Yes. No.
Awesome. Awesome. And we
So
did
you
see
think that he might be doing more harm than good with the Reuteri, even though it's the non-dairy version? I mean, we've seen these leaky gut issues and stuff. He's trying to
yeah.
to correct that.
I don't think that's going to be as something that creates as much of an imbalance as actually taking a full probiotic supplement right now. You know, I don't know that if I were him, I would do it every day. I don't know how frequently he's doing it, but he might want to take a break for a little bit while he's working on some of this other stuff. Not to say that he couldn't come back to it, but do I think it's absolutely necessary right now? Maybe not. Maybe not. He did have an antibiotic resistance gene. Just wanted to point that out. I want to make sure that we have enough time to address everything here. So looking at this, let me blow it up just a little bit so it's a little bit easier to see. I'm sorry, I realize that was probably low. Compensatory phase with the total cortisol at 4.4. Now, compensatory goes down to 4.2, so he's trending very low. He's compensatory trending towards exhaustive, so it still kind of fits that, yes, we want to support the adrenals. I think the supplement we talked about, what was it called? Support adrenal? Yeah, support adrenals.
BMX.
Could certainly be something exactly to just nourish the adrenals while you're working on all the things, and eliminating some of these stressors that are showing up on these labs are also going to be beneficial, obviously. The melatonin range must have recently changed because it used to be 0 to 5, and that is still what we show on the test comparison worksheet, and this is showing low based on that. I don't really have a comment for that because that was new for me. It used to be 0 to 5, so I don't know that 0.2 is really problematic. The SIG-A being so high, I know that it's showing just high here, but it is very high based on our test comparison worksheet. Totally correlates with all of the allergy stuff that he has going on, right?
And
because we're measuring 2 different terrains. That's why it's high in saliva and low in the gut. So sometimes we do see that. He definitely needs DHEA, and I think there's only 8 milligrams in the support adrenals. I would consider adding an additional DHEA support. And there is a great one from Quicksilver Scientific where it's a liposomal formula and one pump is 5 milligrams. I would start with an additional 5 milligrams because he's already getting 8 in the support adrenals. And I would consider adding another probably 5 to 10 milligrams. I think it's really going to help with fatigue. In men, low DHEA can be a huge driver of the fatigue as well. So not only does he not have a lot of cortisol, but his DHEA is also quite low, which is why the cortisol to DHEA ratio is showing so high, which is unbelievable because of how low the cortisol is, but that's how unbelievably low his DHEA is. So he's probably going to need somewhere around a total of around 20-ish to or so milligrams of DHEA, but he's going to get 8 in the support adrenals. And then maybe you could add about another 15 just with that pure DHEA from Quicksilver. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking needed help there. Okay, great. I like that idea. So you don't think it's overdoing it by giving both?
No.
We actually need it. Okay.
No, just look at the amount so that you know you're not going over because we are kind of double dosing.
Right.
He's only getting 8 milligrams in support adrenals, and I think he needs a lot more than that.
Got it. Good.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So what other kind of questions might you have with lab or protocol really quick here?
You've answered all of them now. That was really the last thing we had to do with, looking at that area for his DHEA. And I assume that with that, that'll help his hormones to get into the right space as well.
Absolutely. And his testosterone does not look bad at all. Honestly, for a male his age, it's not in the highest range that we would like to see. It's just barely below what we call optimal, but I've seen a heck of a lot worse in men this age, so it's not that bad. But the DHEA might be beneficial for him. In men, DHEA doesn't metabolize so much to testosterone, but it is going to help provide a better balance there with the cortisol and also with the fatigue issue that he's got. That can be a huge driver of that for him.
Yeah, no, he was pretty pleased with his testosterone result there. So, but I do, with everything else that we were looking at, he was really concerned about the overall how to get that equalized.
Awesome.
Okay, good.
Awesome.
That's all my questions have been answered, Paula. Terrific. Thank you so much. Really
Yay.
helpful.
Awesome. Thank you for submitting the case. I just have a couple minutes, Lucy. Is there anything else that would be outstanding for my input?
No questions.
Okay.
All good. Thank you
Cool.
very much, guys. Thank you, Paula, for bringing the knowledge. Thank you, Roselle, for bringing the case. Actually, I should have mentioned this at the start of the call, but it did escape my brain. If you want to submit your own detective hour case, we have one more next week, and then next month, and then we will need some more cases to continue. So please do submit your case there. I've just added the
We are stop that there. This was such a great look into one of the resources we have as an FDN graduate. We get asked a lot of times, like, what happens after we graduate? What support do we get? Do we have people that can help with complex cases or coming up with protocols and things like that? And this is just one of the resources that we have, because we have clinical advisors that have been doing this work for decades sometimes, like Paula, and they are gracious enough to share their experiences with us in live meetings, just like the one that you saw a recording of. It's called our Detective Hours, and they offer those monthly to us graduates. And you, as an FDN graduate, actually can submit a case, just like that FDN did, and have the opportunity for a clinical advisor to walk through that case with you, just like Paula did. And man, if you are just joining us for your first live session, what a doozy this one was for you. You not only got to see all 5 foundational labs and what their actual results look like from the lab companies, but you got to see the tools that we get for case notes and for the test comparison worksheet, and how Paula actually worked through correlating the health history questionnaire and the main complaints with those lab results, and then, determined a dress protocol to go along with those that was personalized for that client. So man, you not only got to see what we have available to us as graduates, you got to see the whole FDN process live in action right there. So the other things that we have available as graduates is also our bi-monthly peer-to-peer session, and we actually get to have just an open Q&A with one of our clinical advisors. Usually it's Paula or Whitney that join us on those. And then we also have a weekly Monday mastermind with Raywin, who was our previous presenter today, and Jen Maleka, who are our two business mentors. And that, again, is just a weekly Q&A session where we get to ask any and all things related to the business side of things. So the other thing Paula mentioned on there that we get a lot of questions about is continued access to the course. So once you graduate, you do get ongoing access to the course. Any updates that happen to the course, you get access to those. Any updates to our documents, our tools, our resources, all of that is available after you graduate as well. And I know some of you are on here like dipping your toes in the water, seeing what this whole FDN thing is about, and hopefully we're giving you a good taste for that. And some of you are on this like final step of like determining if you want to pull the trigger and join FDN and start your curriculum. And I would say if you're in that position where maybe you just wanted to know some of those things that were available to you after you graduate and you're ready to pull the trigger and take advantage of our biggest discount of the year, you can go ahead and do that by scheduling a call with our course enrollment advisors. They can work through if you want to do the paid in full version and get that $1,750 off right away, or if you want to do one of our payment plans and get 14% off of any of our payment plans. I'm going to have Katie share the link in our chat of how to enroll or get signed up with one of those course enrollment advisors. And they can get you enrolled in the course with those discounts. Or if you are somebody that's like, I still have a few questions, you can use that call with a course enrollment advisor as well to ask any additional questions about the course, the logistics of the course, how the course may fit into if you have a current practice of some kind. Thanks, Katie, for sharing that in the chat. So use those course enrollment advisors as a resource. It's not a hard sales call at all. They're just there to answer any questions that you have, or if you got the urge to go ahead and just sign up now, you can go ahead and do that there. The other thing you could do is if you're like, I don't need to talk to anybody, I just need the link to sign up, then I'm going to have Katie share that link as well. And you can just click on the link. It'll take you to a website. You can enroll in the course online as well. And if you do this by Monday, end of day, midnight, you can actually get some of our fast action bonuses as well. So not only do you get the discount off of the course, whether you do the payment plans or the paid in full, you can also get these fast action bonuses, and they're going to include 6 months of Biocanic Access, which is our practitioner management portal, and that was talked about a little bit by Raywin in the last session, as well as a couple other sessions that we had with the actual creator of that, Jeremy, earlier in the week. And then you also get 4 hours of business training with Raywin, and you can pick her brain about how to, put packages together, attract clients, anything related to the business side of things. And then you're also going to get a live workshop with our other business mentor, Jen Maleka. And so those 3 things will be included if you go ahead and join our program by midnight on Monday. So we've had an amazing couple weeks here. I think that's just going to keep getting better and better as we continue into the next couple of weeks. I know we have some additional business sessions next week, some additional case studies, behind the scenes looks. So make sure that you check out the schedule for next week. If you have any last minute questions, I encourage you to throw those into the chat right now. Otherwise, take advantage of those course enrollment advisors by booking that call to ask any questions that you have, or to just jump on board and get signed up with us. There are not going to be any additional like last minute savings if you wait till the end of the month. We're not going to throw any like unexpected bonuses in there or anything like that. So if you're feeling the calling, I would just encourage you to do it now, get started. It's a self-paced program, so you get access immediately when you sign up. So you could, use this weekend to get going on your future. We appreciate you all joining us live and on the replays. And I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat. So we will go ahead and sign off. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I can't wait to see you all next week with more behind the scenes looks and information about our program, our processes, our protocols, our labs, and all the things. So take care, you guys.